Hello, welcome. I'm Pauline from PQW and I've got some very exciting things to share with you. We've been hard at work here designing more quilting templates for those people who use a normal domestic machine and for those that don't want a free motion quilt. We design these templates specially for Quilt As You Go, but if you don't do your quilts Quilt As You Go, they are still a great resource for you for putting a design onto any quilt. So let's go through it and show you exactly what we've got. So this is the template. It is all different heart shapes and I'm going to show you some amazing designs that you can play with here. As you can see from the sample that I have in front of me, you can use them for borders, you can use them for sashings, you can use them for blocks. You can split them up and do all sorts of things with them. Now the way we want to be able to help you and teach you how to use these templates is use your smartphone, put it onto the camera, put the camera of the phone over the top of the QR code. It will then take you through, you'll click on that, it'll take you through to our YouTube channel. There you'll be able to see a playlist. Now in that playlist will be all of the different templates that we've designed for giving you your quilting designs. So as we design new templates up, you'll be able to go click on that because each one of the templates will have an A, B, C, D, E or F or whatever it is on the top of the template. You can watch that video to see how to use it and all the different ideas of all the beautiful designs you can come up with. As you can see here, we've used the templates to create a border design, or it could be a design going on a sashing. You can do them for over the top of the blocks. But we've designed them up to help you be a beautiful quilter without putting all the challenges in there that there is when we free motion quilt. We're just going to have our feed dogs up, open toe foot on your machine, set your stitch lengths to 2.6, 2.75, whatever you want it to be, and you're just simply going to stitch on a line by turning this under the needle as you stitch. So simple. There's a few tools that we recommend that you would use to make this job easier. One is being the sew slip mat that you'd put over the bed of the machine to make the fabric slide so you're not having to push and tug. The other thing would be the bohin pencil set, because this pencil set has black and white leads which allows you to mark any coloured fabric. The other thing I strongly recommend for quilting and for all your piecing, all the quilts that you ever make, would be the titanium top stitch needles, because these are brilliant. They're the only needles I ever have in my machine now. One packet will last me for years because they stay sharp so much longer than a regular needle. So they'd be the basics that I would suggest when you're doing something like this. But let's talk about the templates. Now, one of the things I suggest before you decide what you want to quilt, do a little bit of playing like we always do. I always just get spare sheets of paper. I just use butcher's paper. You could cut it to the size of the blocks that you're wanting to design a pattern up for, or to the quilt, whatever you want to do. Just fold it and section it up. So you've got some reference lines. That will just make it easier for you to find the centre of your block. But we're just going to, instead of drawing on fabric to start with, I suggest you design on paper because you will come up with so many more designs than what I could ever present to you. So let's just put the template down. Now, I can centre this because I've got the point of the heart here and I've got the peak of the heart up here. I'm going to use a permanent marking pen so that I can draw this up a bit darker for you to be able to see. But you would, if you're designing on paper first, use whatever marker you want, but when we go to fabric, I definitely use the proper fabric marking pen. So you could come around and draw all of these shapes. But if you know exactly what you want before you start, you could go straight to your fabric. But I just think building yourself up some patterns like this and putting them in a little folder or something, you'll know exactly what you're doing when you want to come and make another quilt without redesigning all the time. You can use these. Now what I'm doing here, I'm using these reference lines out on the angle to be in the middle of that heart. So if this was my fabric, I would section it up like this so that I'm getting everything in position as I want them. So there we've now got a nest of hearts. I could come back and I could put a smaller heart in the middle at the same time as I was drawing around the outside. I could come back and do some layering of hearts. It's just a very simple process, and you can instantly see how that's going to make the design look so much better. Now when I quilt this, I could start in the middle here and I would stitch around and around, and it just is a continuous line. If I got back to here and I had a heart in the middle, I'd stitch back up here and come and do the next one. I'd come down, I'd stitch up into here and do the next one. And it's yes, you're going to be turning the fabric under the needle, but we're not turning a whole quilt. It's really quilting the easiest possible way you could ever think of quilting. But let me show you some of the lovely designs we've drawn up on paper. Now the thing is too, when you buy the templates from us, you will get, on the order, you'll get a responding email to say, download all of the pattern sheets that we have for you, because all of these sheets will be there available. They'll be in A4 size that you'll be able to just copy onto your downloaded and print it out. So you'll have ideas of how to do that. We'll have some instructions written on it for you also, so that you can get the knowledge by downloading your own pattern sheet. So you can see here we've just reversed the hearts. We've come in and put some in the side. We've got the reference lines running through it. Then we've come back and we've used the smaller heart, this one here, and added it around the outside. And you can see we would stitch up here, around, we'd stitch back, up here, around, stitch back, up here and around, come back to the next one. So you can make them all continuous line quilting, so you're not starting and stopping. This one here, I just love this one. We used this section here to create this heart. Oops, I've turned the template over. And we just trace the two shapes and just keep coming around, but we've got the reference lines on the paper or on the fabric, so we know where to line them up exactly. Once again, continuous line quilting. It makes it very, very easy for you just to stitch on that line. And here's another little example of some others that we've drawn up. Here we've just done the 4 hearts with the little one in the centre. Here we've done a continuous line. So when we do a continuous line like this, we would start and we'd just go down one side first, all the way down, and then come back. So when we get down, we would turn the fabric around. So we're not stitching backwards, we're always stitching towards ourselves. And then we'd come back and we'd do the centre one and then lead on to the next one. The same with these hearts. We're going smaller to larger, back to smaller. So that'd be wonderful on a border. You would centre this one at the beginning of at the middle of your border, and you'd work out one way and then work back the other. So it just shows you, here we've got, use them to create interlocking hearts just by simply putting it over the top of each other and moving it forward. And once again, we'd start stitching, we'd come back, and you just keep going. Just makes it so easy to do all of this. And we'd love to see what you create, because it just gives you the availability to be very, very, very flexible, very creative, and you'll be surprised with what you could come up with. So we'd like you to give these a go and let us see what you've been doing. Well, let's do some practical stuff now. We've got this design drawn on paper, so let me show you how to put it onto fabric. But another tool that I forgot to mention at the beginning is the fantastic Hera marker. These are fabulous for putting your reference lines on. So what I've done here is I've drawn a line, I've measured up my block, I've drawn a line through the middle, and to do that all we need to do is with your Hera marker, press down firmly, run it up and down a couple of times, and you get a crease. And that's all we need as our reference. But before I've done that, I always use the Hobbs Heirloom double-sided fusible batting or wadding, because I like to be able to iron my 3 layers together and not have to use any safety pins. Now, having the 3 layers pressed together with a hot dry iron, you press the top. When you've done the top, you'd flip it over and you would press the back. Now, having those 3 layers all layered together, it stabilises your block, so when you draw onto the fabric, your fabric won't stretch, and that to me is a very important issue. If I was pinning these 3 layers together, if I was using a different batting, I would have to draw my design onto my fabric before I layered the 3 layers together with the pins, because it'd be too hard to draw the design with the pins there. Having this batting, I don't have to stop and take pins out. It just makes my job so much easier. So let's use our template. We're going to use this small heart here. We've got our left reference lines drawn through the centre across, and I'll just come back and do these ones on the diagonal a little bit heavier so that I can see them. Now, if I make a mistake putting this line in here, I could just use my hot iron and press the crease out and start again. So there's my diagonals drawn. So now what I'll do is lay my template down, and I'm going to use the top of this heart as my reference to the centre. So that way when I draw each of these hearts, I'll have it exactly the same. So we'll just make sure you use a good quality fabric marking pen. We are going to stitch over the line, but if you press too dark, you're going to have to wash the line out. So I use the bowhin marking pencil. I have my lead out so I can got a good length of lead that will fit through the split in the template. And we draw. Now I'm not going to press too hard, I just need it hard enough so that I can see it when I'm at the sewing machine, because I don't want to have to wash this when I'm finished. Once I stitch over it, the thread will cover the line. So, oops, I missed a little bit. So we can reposition the template and come back. There we have the first one. Now we'll do the same thing. We're going to place the centre of this big heart at the bottom in the middle. Align this line on the template and the top of this heart up together, and just draw through the splits. So it's a very easy process. There's nothing hard about it. It'll take you a few minutes to draw up your block, but it's well worth it, knowing that you're going to end up quilting a beautiful design. It's just the hardest thing is remembering where you've drawn the line, which ones you've got and which one you've missed. So the same again, align the top of this heart into the centre. That's giving me the equal distance all the way through with each one of these hearts. Now if I concentrate and draw all of my outside lines first, I'm not going to then miss any, because it's very easy to skip one or two of the lines. There we go. And we'll just keep working around, drawing it exactly like that. So I think you'll agree there's nothing hard in this process. And, going to the machine to do it makes it so much simpler to be a beautiful quilter. As I said before, all we do is stitch on a line. We're not going to actually quilt, we're just going to sew on a line. And to me, that is very easy process. So here we come with the next one. And I think you'll be very, very proud of your quilting. If you've struggled with quilting, let me tell you, you'll be chuffed with this. Just keep drawing those. And we're just about there. And then I'll put the little curly bits in for you and show you how I do that. You know, you can even use these templates for appliques when you're wanting some applique hearts and that. They're not just for quilting. Use them for whatever purpose you want. If you're into doing painting of your fabrics, you can use these templates and paint over them and you'd have their heart shape happening. It is acrylic, so it will wipe off if you use the right sort of paint. I'm not a person that's into painting on fabric, but a lot of people are. So here we are back to the last one. And you can see having this batting and my 3 layers lined up, my fabric's not stretching at all. I can really nearly assure you that if you did it without the batting underneath, you'd have a problem happening. So there's my hearts all drawn. Now I can put the curly bits in, you know, to come into the centre, or I could just stitch those. And I can put a curve on them, or I could leave them straight. That's entirely up to you. So once I stitch over that, I've got a really nice pattern happening. Now, if I've got areas to fill in, I could come back and I could use one of the bigger hearts. That one's a bit too big. We'll use the medium one. And we could draw these in just to fill in the space. And you could now see that I'm now going to fill that in beautifully. I could fit, that one won't fit there, but I could come back and fit another one of these in. And this is why I say start drawing up some designs on paper first. Give yourself a little bit of a plan before you get on to drawing onto your fabric. And you'll know what you'd like and you'll know what will suit your quilt. So filling in can really make it quite inspiring and very, very effective. So don't forget, use the QR code with your smartphone. Don't forget to download the pattern sheets. Once you place your order, you'll have the availability to download that. Download it, save it, print it out, and then you set them up in a folder. So then you've got all the ideas that we can present to you, and we'll be adding ideas all the time. So just keep an eye on our YouTube channel, keep an eye on your order when it comes through so you can download anything we've got for you. So we hope you enjoy. Bye for now.